Shreveport Police Chief Ben Raymond is here. Hey, Mr. Ben, welcome back to Keel. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you.
Chief, City Councilwoman Lavette Fuller wants to repeal the ordinance which bans saggy britches. It's been said that it's a tool in your tool belt that you use. I want to hear it from you.
Explain that to us. If that is true, what does it mean?
Yeah, well, let me first start off by saying that the Shreveport Police Department is going to enforce ordinances and statutes that are passed by the legislative branch, whether that be federal statutes, state statutes, or city council. So I'm not going to put any public opinions about whether or not I believe that this ordinance needs to be repealed. To answer your question, however, there are minor offenses that are utilized as part of our proactive policing approach. Sagging pants, wearing pants below the waistline, one of those, meaning that since it is a misdemeanor offense, if I see a person that is wearing pants below the waistline and undergarments are visible, I have probable cause to stop and detain that person. Now, I can just tell you from personal experience, probably hundreds of people that I have stopped or spoken to regarding their sagging pants. I can't think of a single instance in which I issued a summons. I may have issued one or two over the years.
Councilwoman Fuller says that the people y'all are stopping for saggy britches are young black men. I want to hear from you. Is that accurate?
You know, I don't know. We're actually working on my crime analyst is actually pulling statistics now to let us know how many of these ordinances or how many summonses have been issued to male, female, and then ethnicity, black, white. And so we'll see. I don't look at for a person and say, hey, there's a young black guy, he's sagging, we'll stop him. If I see someone wearing saggy britches, especially if I believe they may be up to more serious crime, and I think that's what's key here. Again, this is kind of a common sense approach to it. I tell a lot of people, hey, pull your britches up. We can see your underwear. They pull the britches up when we go on with our day, and we have another conversation. It's those instances in which that leads to more serious crimes that we can't really put a number on. So if I stop someone because initially I see their pants are sagging, and they take off running and we get guns and dope off of them, we arrest them for the guns and the dope. We don't generally also add on the sagging britches. That was just the reason for the stop.
Chief, you make an interesting point because Ms. Fuller had the numbers yesterday, and I don't remember exactly what they were, but these are close. And it was basically of the 700 ordinance violations that were given out. In nearly, I think it was 279, the exact number, I don't remember, but we can say safely close to 300 of those were people with outstanding warrants and or some kind of trouble.
Well, yeah, so what she has is 726 summonses out of 707 incidents, which means there were some incidents in which more than one summons was written, so multiple individuals. Of those, 217 included additional charges. But all that means is, in the analogy I gave, then in 217 instances, we charged them with something else and included the ordinance for wearing pants below the waistline. What I can't tell you is how many people were stopped for wearing pants below the waistline, but were arrested for some other more serious charge, and we didn't include wearing pants below the waistline.
Does this ordinance help your officers do their job?
It does, but we're going to still be able to do our job if it's repealed.
Okay. She says in the case of Anthony Childs that the saggy pants was what alerted officers to him from jump, and now he's dead. Perhaps if he did not have saggy pants on, he would be alive today. Can you react to that?
You know, and again, I'll say this. Anthony Childs was not involved in the incidents in which he was involved in because of sagging pants. He had an illegal firearm, and that was what I can only assume is the reason he ran, because he knew he had an illegal firearm and probably knew that would result in an arrest. The officer did not know he had an illegal firearm. He was stopping him, again, for a minor violation, in this case wearing pants below the waistline, and it resulted in his suicide. But to blame the statute on what Anthony Childs chose, I don't think is fair.
Chief, and I don't mean to sound funny or silly when I say this, but I would hazard to guess if I were busting a sag in Albertsons and my underwear was showing, there wouldn't be a police officer that's going to say anything to me. And people are seeing this as a racial issue, that it's a racial divide in our community. And that's kind of what's sparking this firestorm, I guess. Can you react to that a little?
You know, I'm aware of the conversation. I've spoke with Councilwoman Fuller. I knew that she was proposing the ordinance. We provided some information to her. And again, we're going to enforce the ordinances and the statutes that are passed by the legislative branches of government. I don't know that any were intended. I don't believe any were intended to focus on a particular group of people. But this is a similar argument to if I'm driving 85 on interstate in a 70-mile-an-hour speed zone and there's 5 cars doing that and I'm stopped, it's not uncommon for the person to stop to say that's not fair. The other 4 cars were speeding too. And the response that I would give is, well, I can't stop all 5 of you. Mm-hmm. You know, unfortunately, everything can't be fair. That's just the reality of it. So I may not be able to stop every single person who's wearing their pants below their waistline. I can tell you, I quite often yell out my window, roll down my window, get out of my car and say, hey, man, you need to pull your pants up, especially if I'm walking by you in a public area. I can't think of an instance in which a person has come back and said, no, I'm not pulling my pants up. Most of the time, I find that when people are wearing pants below the waistline, and when they see an officer, they pull them up. They know that they're in violation of the law. And what this all comes down to, that I learned as a little kid, follow the law. Yeah. Whether you agree with it or not, follow the law.
Chief, at the end of the day, doesn't it just seem kind of silly that a policeman has to tell some guy how to wear his pants?
It's no more silly than us having to tell someone not to throw beads back at a Mardi Gras float, not to be drunk in public, not to shoot at somebody. I mean, I understand the argument that do we really need to enforce this? And again, I'm not going to give an opinion on it. We are going to enforce statutes and ordinances on the books. We're going to do it as fairly as possible. And this particular one does contribute to a lot more serious arrests. But again, if you repeal the ordinance, you're not going to hear complaints from police officers. We're going to continue to do our jobs. We're going to continue to proactive police. And those individuals that are violating the law, that are wearing sagging pants, if that can't be the reason we stop them, it's not going to prevent us from catching those individuals with illegal firearms, illegal drugs, things like that.
Chief, one more thing. I will let you go. You stand before the city council tomorrow during their work session or Tuesday during their meeting, and a council member asks you, Chief, do you want this ordinance to stay on the books? What's your answer going to be to them?
I'm going to tell them that that's going to be more of a personal opinion, and that we're going to enforce whatever they decide should be a city ordinance. I'm doing my best to stay out of this on a personal belief standpoint, because I don't think that's our role as police officers. I think our role is if it's a law, we enforce it as appropriate, using some common sense, logical thought process. But I really don't want to get down in the weeds of what does Ben Raymond or what do the police believe regarding whether this ordinance should be a law or not. I want to stay away from that conversation.